And what I have found in my travels and talking to the legislature and also talking to our citizens in this state, they're looking to get behind somebody to solve our problems regardless of the parties. So, I mean, for example, I grew up in a family where mom is a retired nurse, dad is a retired school teacher. I come from a Franco-American family, big-hearted family. I grew up with taking care of people and educating kids. We were a Democrat family. I'm a Republican, so what? Yeah. We're Mainers. I really look at it, how do we solve our problems? Who is best qualified? Who has the most management experience and the experience in financial matters to solve our problems? There is no silver bullet that's going to save our state. It's not casinos. It's not windmills. I am proposing something that has not been done in this state for a generation, which is get back to basics. We're a football team that can't block and tackle. We need to fundamentally look in the mirror, ask ourselves some questions. What services should our state provide for its citizens, and what can we afford? And then once we become one of these states that only spends what we take in, then we can start lowering taxes in a meaningful way to help our families and businesses to invest in the state, create jobs, and keep our kids here. I don't think casinos fit. There are better ways to develop our economy, which is to permanently reduce the cost and the complexity of doing business in our state for all industries. Maine already spends $200 million a year on economic development, and we have one of the worst business economies in the country. We need to get back to basics, Bob. One of the major impediments of doing business in our state is the high cost of health care and the high taxes and the high cost of energy. But your question is health care, sir. I am very concerned about what that's going to do to our state. At the federal level, clearly taxes are going to go up to pay for it. It's going to increase our deficit and our national debt. But focusing here on Maine, one of the problems I have and one of the great concerns I have is how this may affect our Medicaid program called Maine Care. We already have a program that enrolls 280,000 of our people. We can't afford it, but it looks like what's coming down from Washington may force us to increase our enrollment in our Medicaid program. Now, I'm very concerned about that. 30% of our budget is spent on our social services. 30%. Now, here's the problem we have, is that we have such a generous set of benefits in our programs, 2 and 3 times what other states provide in their similar programs, and we have no residency requirement. Folks come here on Monday, they get their driver's license on Tuesday, and they're in a whole host of social service programs on Wednesday. Now, 2 things happen with that. Number one, we can't afford it anymore. Second of all, we become a magnet. Folks are coming to Maine to take advantage of these benefits that are so generous. It's so easy to get into these programs. And also, some of them, like our TANF program, no time limits. Other states impose 3, 4, 5-year time limits. Maine imposes none. So you can come up here and be in these programs forever. I will lead the effort, and I will submit a budget that reduces the spending in our social services to the averages of what the other states are spending. We will impose residency requirement. And for those programs where there should be time limits, there will be time limits. There have been a lot of states that have done this over the years. And remember, these programs are to help our citizens become independent, not to have them become permanently dependent on the state. That's not what these programs are for. And if we reform these programs, we'll have more money to take care of those who truly can't provide for themselves. This is going to be tough. Can we do it? You bet we can do it. Now, when it comes to bond issues, we're broke. The state has no new money. And we have such a horrible business climate that's been shrinking, we're not generating any new tax revenue. Now, I come from the private sector. When you're broke, you don't borrow any new money. So when it comes to governing this state, you would be looking at someone, God willing, who has lots of experience in the financial sector. I understand how to run businesses because I've done that. I know how to sign the front side of a paycheck and balance a budget. No new borrowing when you're in debt. Now, we can have plenty of money to take care of our infrastructure and pave our roads and take care of our ports and what have you if we have a healthy private sector economy and we manage our budget properly. One of the reasons we can't pave our roads is because the governor and those in the legislature raid the highway fund and put it in general services. That's what they've been doing. They take stimulus money from Washington, pump it into our programs instead of making the tough decisions and say, we balance the budget. And now they're instituting furlough days, encouraging us to gamble more to balance the budget. This is ridiculous. I mean, it'd almost be comical if it wasn't our money. What has gotten us into this mess is business as usual political experience. That is what has created the Maine we know today. It's also created what we know is going on in Washington. What we need in this state is someone who has guts, someone from the private sector who understands these real-world economic, fiscal, and job-related problems. Those are the problems we have. And someone who has the courage to address them head-on without concern for the next election. Of course, if you're in politics, your first rule of thumb is to look out for the next election. If you're from the private sector, you're looking for the long-term prosperity of the enterprise. So the experience that we need is not political experience. We need private sector experience. So it is a fresh face. I am a fresh face. And one of the skill sets you learn in the private sector is being persuasive, in negotiating, and understanding how an economy works, understanding how a business works. That's the skill set that I will bring to Augusta, God willing, as governor. We need an entirely new attitude in this state, in Augusta, not this state. I mean Augusta when I say that. When it comes to business development and jobs, it starts in the Blaine House. And you know, sometimes in a democracy, you need to get right to the edge. We are there now, and we're looking down into the abyss. When that happens, then change is usually affected. We're there. If you're getting a paycheck from the state government or a benefit from the state government, and you just went through this budget cycle that we went through, where now we're instituting furlough days and people are getting laid off, and now we're looking at a $1 billion shortfall for the next governor, it gets people's attention. First of all, we cannot raise taxes. We can't. We have the 6th highest tax burden in the country, and that's part of the cost calculus, and that's why businesses are packing up and leaving, jobs are leaving, and it's why our kids can't make it here anymore. And that's why so many of our retirees change their state residencies to avoid the high taxes. So we can't do that. That doesn't help. That'll make things worse. We can't spend our way to prosperity. You know, we come from a heritage of fiscal discipline. When I grew up in Waterville, Mom and Dad and my brother and I lived in a ranch house about the third the size of this room. For 33 years, Mom and Dad lived there. The only debt my parents have ever had, ever, is a 4% mortgage to pay off that house. Ever. That's in my DNA. I get it. We need someone like that who fundamentally believes that in the Blaine House. Part of this is character. There isn't one family, I'm sure, in our state that has not had hardship and tragedy in their lives. I'm no exception. But it's how you deal with adversity. How do you come out of that stronger and better and smarter? That's what determines character. I think this election's about character. Maine is in one heck of a mess. The next several years is going to determine what kind of a character the state has. And the voters of Maine are looking to get behind somebody who will do the right thing and who has character.